So, hello everyone. This is my first video in my video series, basically where I break down what I do on a weekly basis and just share my insights and journey along the way with everyone who's watching. It's been 76 days since I started what the internet calls now an AAA agency, aka AI automation agency. What I do is a bit more kind of niche inside that concept, which is just kind of chatbot building instead of just doing overall service to people. I'm inspired by basically three things when it comes to creating content like that. So first of all, it's podcasts where you just have your notes, your experiences, and just a person talking into a microphone. I don't intend on editing those and cutting out my grammar mistakes whenever I stumble in a sentence. I want this to feel as authentic and as free flowing as it can be, because I want to kind of share very real and actual kind of experiences that I go through instead of just shouting into a camera and doing cool transitions, etc. Second thing I'm inspired by is kind of vintage YouTube content, when you just had a camera, a person, maybe not even a microphone, and you would just talk and share. And I find that very appealing, to be honest. And third, this is going to be to everyone who knows a bit about bodybuilding. There is this very young creator who's named Sam Salek, and he is probably the craziest looking 21-year-old on the world. Literally looks like an absolute mountain of muscles. And I love the fact that he just takes his camera, just speaks to it, doesn't do any cool edits, any cool transitions, and has a very appealing way of kind of expressing himself. And I find that very kind of admiring. So that's exactly what I plan to do with those as well. I'm just gonna talk you through my experiences. I'm gonna keep it very authentic and very kind of honest. And I also just wanted to share kind of what was the achievements that I was able to secure basically in the 76 days that I am doing this business, and what were the downfalls, and what is just my overall kind of thought process, basically going into the future and how I might do things differently. Another idea that I was dabbling with was basically that most YouTubers tend to put a lot of like high production value into their videos, and that's certainly a way to go. But I'm really inspired by the kind of idea of basically people starting to watch your content because you have high production value, but then staying and keep watching your content because of kind of the personality that they see on the other side. And that is my goal. That is my experiment of basically skipping the whole high production value and then just getting to the personality part. And this intro is already probably too long, but it is what it is. We're gonna live and learn. You might also think that I'm just lazy on editing, and that's the reason why I don't have very cool transitions, etc. But I would rather spend 8 hours working on something and learning from kind of doing the business part, and then providing that value in a more free-form content, rather than editing the video in a better way, in a cooler way, or writing a script, etc. So let's get into the kind of content of the video. So in the 76 days basically of me running this business, I generated 26 very warm leads, meaning that I'm already kind of in conversation with those people. They shown interest, they want to see examples. I've sent demos to them. Maybe we had a call. So 26 in 76 days. Out of these 26, 15 sales calls. So this is either through LinkedIn or cold outreach via email. And email has been working much better for me than just regular LinkedIn content. Even though I think LinkedIn was initially, when I started, I thought LinkedIn is going to be the best platform to do this, because I have, I think, a strong LinkedIn profile, because I used to work in tech companies. So kind of LinkedIn is the way and the platform to have a brand in. I didn't post or anything, but I just had some work experiences and just an okay profile basically. And I thought LinkedIn is going to be great, but apparently cold outreach is better than LinkedIn. Cold outreach in email. So out of these 15 calls, I drafted 8 proposals. So out of these 8 proposals, and the proposal consisted initially of like an AI audit, what we can do to automate your business. And in every single one of those was a chatbot because it can help you with, all of these things that we will talk about later. So out of these 8, basically 2 got quoted. For 2 of those, I quoted the client, meaning that they shown interest. They said, yes, this is interesting to us. What is exactly the price tag for each feature, and how are we going to kind of work forward? So one was fully confirmed, one is already fully confirmed, one is on hold. And this is kind of the breakdown of the CRM. Now I want to share basically on my screen, you should see basically a table of the overall revenue I generated throughout this business. So I have basically 3 clients. I know I mentioned that there's only 2 quotes, but one of them was basically from one outside of this table was from my kind of internal group from my family and friends, where I just kind of pitched it verbally, and they said, yeah, I want a chatbot, that sounds interesting, and they just kind of decided to support me. It's not so much of a kind of a business pitch, it's more so just being kind of curious about the technology, and then supporting me in trying to go ahead and build this. So I don't consider that a massive win, but it's still kind of helped me, of course, kickstart everything. So I have kind of 3 clients. So for 2 of them, I built chatbots. So one of them was charged 1,476. The second one is for 2,000 plus a 300 recurring fee. So overall, that's 3,500 basically of revenue in 2 months. And I have a third client, which I'm consulting in terms of lead generation. Basically, I help set them up like an automated outreach system, exactly that I do with email. I do this for them as well, and they agreed to pay basically 23 pounds, because they're from UK, but I put in euros here, 23 pounds per lead, which can end up being basically 1,058, because the target we're reaching is 46 leads in 3 months, and this is just sales qualified leads, meaning that they're ready to jump on a call. So the kind of overall revenue in the kind of 2.5 months I've already generated, it's for received, it's only for 1,476. I already kind of billed the second client for their chatbot, so that amount should come in soon. We decided that they're going to pay 50% upfront, and then 50% once the delivery is done. I have one more quote kind of still in standstill with a very kind of warm lead as well. So hopefully that gets me over, maybe 6K overall possible quoted revenue in in the 2 months that I've been working on this. So that's pretty good. Even though at a lot of times throughout this, I felt as if I'm definitely underperforming. I could do this better. And it's been, I would say, personally wise, it was a kind of difficult process for me to go through, because you're constantly doing this alone, and you don't know sometimes whether the decisions that you're making are the right decisions. But I'll get into that later on. So basically my thought process, how did I get into this, and how exactly kind of I think through how I was thinking through starting this agency. So I began with e-commerce because I know about e-commerce quite a bit. I was working in a startup that was in e-commerce. I then started like a startup that also would help e-commerce businesses. I can talk about that maybe later on. But I thought, I know about the industry. It heavily relies on traffic and receives a lot of user interaction, because chatbots are only useful in businesses where there is traffic inside those websites or channels, whatever. It needs people, because it needs to kind of outsource a certain activity, which is kind of customer interaction, to AI, right? To a chatbot. So, and I investigated that space quite a bit. So solutions like Tidio already exist, especially for e-commerce stores. So if you are actually curious about AI kind of chatbots, then you would just do some due diligence, some research, and you would find tools like Tidio that are extremely easy to set up, are specifically made for e-commerce, and cost like 70 euros per month instead of like 3K and then 300 per month every month. So then I realized that I need to look into also that businesses that are very text heavy, like that for which I could, build like very strong knowledge bases for these chatbots. Then I basically switched my focus to kind of real estate. I thought, it has super high value per lead. Basically, it makes a lot of money for these businesses. If you bring in 10% more leads, that's incredibly, high ticket value per each. So and a lot of real estate businesses have a lot of money, and I thought I could build them more. That's truth to be told, that's a big reason as well. So the idea was to help basically these businesses kind of create a better converting website. But after having a few conversations with real estate companies, I found that very little kind of selling happens on the website. And this is, of course, my experience. You might have it very different. And on top of that, it's kind of very localized approach, right? So if you're a brokerage, that sells houses in Santa Monica, USA, you don't need clients from, Australia. You don't need people coming onto your website and converting. You just need people from your kind of area. So like spending a lot of money on like very digitalized solutions just doesn't make sense for their business. That's at least my impression from like 3 or 4 conversations that I had with real estate companies. And I finalized my kind of niche search with accountants. So now I'm focusing on accountants. I'm not strictly kind of doing only accountants. I do have a lot of outreach that I've done inside this niche. And I found that they're not very kind of digitally savvy. Except Australians. Australians are very curious about this tech. So I thought about accountants, and this is what led me basically to this specific niche. So all of them, first of all of them have websites. Secondly, all of their websites call to action, or like the dream outcome, is for the visitor to book a call inside with one of the accountants. That's kind of the dream outcome. And I thought I could definitely help with that, with the chatbot. If it kind of is virtually selling and pushing users, I thought this could work. All of them are using, not all of them, but like big portion of them is using search engine optimization to drive traffic to their websites. And that I thought is an excellent basically selling point, because and this could be my angle basically, I could target accounting businesses that already have some search engine optimization like systems in place. And my kind of angle of selling would be basically get more leads out of the same effort that you're putting in, because you're already working on organic traffic. So let me just maximize the business that you get from that traffic. So my kind of wording was, more business with zero more effort. But there is a problem with kind of using this kind of wording, because more business is very undefined. It's very lackluster in terms of like what does more exactly mean. So from the kind of research that I've done, basically chatbots increase your lead capture anywhere from 5 to 26%. From like these seemed like legit reports, so I'm guessing that this is okay information to share. But these are reports done prior LLMs being introduced. So meaning I think that these chatbots got kind of leveled up when that happened. So maybe these numbers are higher. So what I need is just case studies to show that it's more than that, and that I can use that number to anchor all of my like cold outreach, for example. And these are kind of my key takeaways so far from trying to do this. So first of all, I switched from kind of doing the whole AI like automation thing to just like offering one specific service, because I saw that like even though people were responding to me and asking for those like AI audits, I would see that I can offer like one Zapier automation plus like a chatbot, and I would always try to upsell chatbot. And I'm like, okay, so if I just offer like, and I thought that this is not living to the kind of brand that I'm trying to build, like if I'm offering like all of these automation opportunities, these should be extensive whenever I talk to a business that is not super like digitalized. And yet I would see that it's more so me offering one thing and then just upselling a chatbot. And I thought, okay, I'll just stick to the chatbots. I'm going to create a very clear messaging around that. and I'm gonna ditch the whole like AI automation part. Second thing that I found extremely like interesting and strange is that whenever I would go to one of the like AAA owner websites, none of them would have a chatbot inside them. And that is just something that felt very strange to me. Like if you're a website developing company, like the only thing that should be extremely well like put together is your website, because that is what you sell, right? And I thought that is just such a strange like dynamic. You're not even sure about your product, hence you're not putting it on your website, but yet you're selling it to others. So I built my website like solely around the chatbot, and I will link it in the description to kind of for you to go check and see. But like I put it like as an element, as a key element in the website, and this is what we built, and go ahead and talk to it and just see it as an example. And this is also my advice for whoever is starting out: build one for your website, because whenever you do cold outreach, people tend to check your domain, check the email address that you're sending, the email from, and then go to your website. And the traffic is not significant, but traffic, like it's very, very targeted traffic that you're getting. So you need to make sure that your website is converting those people that come from, for example, cold outreach. And in most cases, like I know that there's this like theme that website doesn't matter, but you have to build a lot of trust for a customer to, you have to build a lot of trust for a person that you're going to build this for. And since you don't have like a public personality, it's very difficult for people to get to trust you, because you're just a cold email that came into their inbox. So I would highly suggest to put on like a website. Don't spend too much time on it, but just, walk the talk basically. Or was it walk the talk? Talk the walk? I don't know. There's a saying basically where you preach what you do what you preach. So build a chatbot for your website and just let people kind of interact with it. And as you're starting out, people will want to see examples. So you can use your website as an example to those people. And third takeaway is that, I think this is a great opportunity for people who are starting out and for people who are just starting to do like online business. Do I believe that I personally will be building like a company that builds chatbots in like 2 years? No, I don't think so. Even though like I do consider these results okay, of course I want more for myself. And I thought whenever I was starting out, I thought that this is going to be my kind of revenue like in 4 days. That was not the case, of course. But I do see this as a kind of good starting point, because you do everything. You do the cold outreach, you do marketing, you do kind of website building, you do service delivery, and you're doing all of those things. And then you can realize which ones are you good at, which ones are you bad at, which ones you like more, which ones you like less. And that just puts, I think that puts you in a very high learning curve, and that's excellent. So I would also encourage, and I do this myself, to really basically keep an eye open on all of the kind of AI developments, because I know that we all want to become basically successful throughout this revolution, because we all know that AI is going to make a lot of people rich, and we want to be, amongst those people. And it's not necessarily about just being rich, but more so about just kind of maybe building a cool company or just doing cool things. And I think chatbots could be an entry point for that, but do I think that is a kind of long-term business with longevity? I'm not sure. I'm not convinced. Yeah. So this is my kind of first little podcast that I do on how I am doing in my kind of business building. I'm going to try to do these weekly. I'm going to see whether that's, whether people like it or not. But yeah, this is just me unscripted, and I'm just talking about my experiences, and hopefully this is helpful and interesting to people watching. Thank you so much if you choose to spend, your time with me, and then speak soon.